Right, okay, folks. Welcome to episode number 2, I should say, yeah, because the first one was a pilot, so this is technically number 2. And yep, I'm delighted to welcome my old mate, Mr. Graeme Cowie. God, I almost forgot your second name there, Graeme. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm just sitting in my conservatory at the minute, just boiling hot with the sun blazing down in England at the minute.
It's nice. How's the weather been down there the last couple of weeks? Has it been nice?
It was pretty awful last week, to be fair. But
Was it?
yeah, the weatherman said, when I say awful, it wasn't like teeming down the rain, but the weatherman did say like Saturday and Sunday were going to be pretty good, and it's gonna improve a bit. And how right he was.
So has it been really warm this weekend?
I mean, yesterday, I think they were saying it was going to get to about 30 degrees in London. So you're saying 30 degrees in London, you're talking like 20 degrees up here where in the frozen north, mate. You know, you'll know that being
yeah, you guys are kind of blue as well, eh? And after a good suntan, you turn white. Yeah, we've had really good weather up here. I'm saying people say really good weather. If you're into skiing, then this is shit weather. You know what I mean? But we've had really nice temperatures. It's been really warm. It's been quite overcast during the day, and then when it gets to about 4 o'clock, it's been getting nice, and that suits me because when you're in an office all day, the last thing you really want is Christ looking outside, and you know.
Totally.
Exactly. So yeah, yesterday was really nice, and today it was torrential rain. It rained really heavily all during the night, and of course, Muggins here put his washing out yesterday.
Oh.
I went to a Proclaimers concert last night. Completely forgot all about it. Came back, and my daughter's like, "You know, you left the washing out, and it was pissing it with rain." So I brought it in, put it in the spinner, and it's back out again because the sun is shining again. So.
Same here, mate. I've got the washing out at the minute. All the sheets are out, but I wasn't as lucky as you. I wasn't lucky as you. I didn't go and see the Proclaimers.
You know what? I know this is a gaming podcast, but I'm going to talk about it. Some people like, I can't stand the Proclaimers. You know what? Music is one of these things. It's everybody's got their own taste in music.
Yeah.
The thing I like about the Proclaimers the most of all is these guys. Money is. I don't think they give a shit about money. I mean, we were right at the very front of the stage. It was brilliant. We were literally about 6 feet away. And you know what? These guys are like the furthest removed. If you had something like, I don't know, George Michael, then at one end of the spectrum, then you've got the Proclaimers. I mean, the lead singer Craig they've both got bellies. And he was like lifting his t-shirt up to wipe his glasses and his bellies. They don't care. They were on for an hour and a half. And at first I thought, that's a bit. There was about 3 or 4 kind of groups. And I thought, this is a bit shit. It was like, I mean, to be fair, it was like 50 odd quid. It was my girlfriend got me it for my Christmas. I thought, that's an hour and a half. That's not very long. But you know what? They're not into this. Good evening, Glasgow. You know, when we were on the flight tonight, we were doing They just come on and went, hello, it's great to be here in the borders again. Right, you might know this one, letter from America. Boom. And it was, and as soon as he finished, they were just launched. I think he spoke probably 3 times, and it was like, thank you. And that was it. You know, and so I don't know how many hits they played, but these guys, I says, you know, and you can say whatever you want about them, but they are global superstars. I mean, I'm quite sure Ozzy Osbourne knows Sunshine on Leith and knows bloody 500 miles. You know, they're and 500 miles is one of these songs. Oh, I can't stand it. It's one of these overplayed songs. But see, last night when it came on, the whole place was just jumping out. And it was actually an honour to see them up close and personal like that. And the fact that they don't care, that these guys are just wondering, they've never changed. I mean, I've liked them ever since like Letter from America came out in 1988. And they've never changed. He sings in his accent, and that's what they are. And Christ, they must be worth a few million, but I don't think for 1 second that money's going to change them. You know what I mean? They're just, because you try and Google what their wives look like, you'll not find anything. because they're just they enjoy their music. And my little anecdote is one of my mates actually bought their bunk beds off them back in the day. There you go, the Proclaimers bunk beds.
They're doing it for the love, mate. That's what they're doing it for. Everybody has to do it for the love.
Definitely. So no, that was really good. So yeah, listen, just could you just very quickly explain to the listeners, Graeme, what your kind of tie into like the scene is? I mean, you're obviously a kind of you love playing. You're bit younger than me, but you're old enough to remember the classic 8-bits and the sort of golden age of video games. What's your tie into the scene? Just tell the listeners a wee bit about yourself, if that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably most well known for being in the Amiga scene, but you know, I've had loads of computers, you know, all the way through. I mean, I'm 40. I'm coming up 48. God, struggles. So you know, my most favorite computer is the Amiga, which I had back in 1991 and 1992. But yeah, I mean, I sort like how old was I then? 20-ish. So I sort of put it away, and then I came back to the scene in 2017 when I was I remember it well. It was like Halloween. Went up in the loft to get something, and I came down with my Amiga. And my wife had never seen one before, and I says, "Oh, I've just got my Amiga out, and I'm just gonna have a few beers this Friday night, and play see me old discs work." So I sort of like I started like having a game of Jim Power, and that my disc, I was over the moon. My discs still worked, and I found some of my old source code discs because I used to do a bit of programming on the Amiga back in the day, and like in the 90s and stuff like that, and the Atari ST before it. And my wife was like, "When you're putting that thing back up in the loft?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not actually planning on doing it. I'm just going to carry on." And at that point, I'd kind of I started to get a bit more invested in it, and that's when I found like, you know, the forums, the English Amiga board, and I got right back into it, you know, like just totally invested into it. And I love programming again because you know, I've got a job. I've got like a job in it's like in security. It's a good job, and it's, you know, but it's not really technical, and I'm like a techie at heart. I like programming and stuff like that, and it's just a good sort of like hobby to get into. And yeah, just programming games. I've done 2017, 2018, I'd done Bomb Jack Beer Edition, which is a port of Bomb Jack. Then I'd done Rygar, which is a game I used to love in the arcades, to the year 1200, 4000. And then I'd done like a little Christmas game as well. That was
Santa Run. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, that was a 7-day job, that one.
Really?
Yeah, done that one.
I don't think I've played that actually. Because I was playing Christmas games on one of my waffles at Christmas time, funnily enough, and I don't remember playing that one.
Yeah, it's only a short little game. I should really expand on it for like this Christmas coming up. And but yeah, then I've done in the COVID year, it was Turbo Sprint. Yeah, and then I've just released last year Devil's Temple. Yeah. On the 500, and what I've like really like to do, what I really like to do is like do the physical editions with the games as well. So that's probably what I'm most known for, the beautiful, lovely boxes that we do.
Yeah, so I'm looking at your obviously your website. I will put a link down below. Now, incidentally, you and I had a good proper chat on camera. I think that would be last year actually. So I will put a link to it, and you'll get a bit more of a flavour background behind Graeme's sort of history. But it's mcgeezer.itch. What the hell is that? mcgeezer.itch.io. What's wrong with .co.uk or .com like everybody else?
Yeah, well, there's two. Itch.io is like a game. It's like a game release site. So if you've got done like a homebrew stuff, mcgeezer.itch.io is just you can put your games on there. But my actual website is geezergames.com.
I see it. I do, Paul. Sorry for attacking you there. Yeah, I do see it. Yeah, it's not your doing. Geezergames.co.uk. So yeah, so are all these? You can actually buy the physical box versions of these.
Well, a couple of them have actually sold out. I mean, I've done like limited runs of Bomb Jack Beer Edition. I think I only done like 50 copies of that, 50 physical runs of that one, and Turbo Sprint as well. I only done a short run of them because the kind of them games are like labour of love games for us. The games that are really like. So I've done like little limited runs of them, doing the boxes, self-publishing all by myself, and I've kind of took them off. I'm not planning on doing any more of them unless there's something changes where there's a big avalanche of people really wanting them, which I can't really say. But the two games that are on geezergames.co.uk, those are physical editions, and I've still got some left of Devil's Temple and Devil's Temple might have sold out this morning actually.
Really?
Yeah, but I do still have a few boxes left. And Rygar, I've still got about 8 left, I think. But you can still get, the majority of the games I do, apart from Devil's Temple. So you can get Bomb Jack Beer Edition, Rygar, Turbo Sprint, Santa Run, all free on the mcgeezer.itch.io page. And Devil's Temple, that's one of the original games that we did, and that one's a paid one. But if there's sort of like, I tend to sort of like reduce the price quite a lot in like seasons to do like promotions. So I think for the King's Coronation, I think I started at like £5, and I had about £5.
Have you ever thought about doing like a bundle, bundling them all together and selling it for like 20 quid or something?
I don't really want to sell the. Do you mean the physical ones? Do you mean or? I
suppose you're saying you can buy Rygar and Bomb Jack for free, can't you?
Yeah, you'd have to have free download. The strictly not my games, so they're just ports of the game. So that's the idea behind it. And at the end of the day, mate, I like programming and
without asking you to tell me how, I know you've just recently bought a 10-bedroom mansion in Sunderland, but I mean, I'm assuming that these are more the money you make. It's a labour of love. You do it, you're not going to make millions out of these things.
I'll put it this way. I mean, if you took like the UK minimum wage, and you were being paid, you'd be destitute. Like you don't make a lot of money from it. And I always said any sort of like money that I do make is sort of I'll reinvest it into the Amiga scene by just going and visiting like the user groups and stuff like that, and the events, and that's typically what I like to do, or support other projects as well.
That's.
I don't like the. Like I say, I don't like the. I've got a job, I do it for a hobby. So the guys who've done the graphics on Devil's Temple and the musicians, awesome people. They got paid a share for doing their work on it, and obviously I've done the project management and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we just divvy it out, and that's how it works, mate.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's into their Amiga, and I'm sure if you're listening to this, you probably are and haven't seen these games, they're absolutely sublime. I mean, they really are, and I think it's, I wouldn't be lying if I said that, Rygar, Bomb Jack, especially Turbo Sprint. I mean, I think I actually asked you that. Did you just download the ROMs and adapt it for the Amiga? I mean, they're absolutely stunning versions, and if these games had been available back in the day, I wouldn't say that it would be a different sort of scene, but just mind blowing, how good these are, and I've made no secret of the fact that Devil's Temple is an absolute astonishing game. It's I mean, when I was down at Nerg, was it last year? I think I was sitting chatting to you, and you were giving me a shot of Devil's Temple, and a guy walked past me. Oh, what machine's that on, mate? I went, Amiga. Oh, I thought it was like an arcade game you're playing, mate, and it's just incredible. And you've a lot of the wee Easter eggs and that kind of stuff, and having all the sort of the posters up, the Jaws posters and Rambo and that kind of stuff. Absolutely phenomenal. So you kind of touched on, I can't remember when it was in this podcast or before we started hitting the record button. You're saying that have you been working on anything else at the moment, or are you having a kind of a year off, or what's the plan?
Yeah, I mean, what's happened is, and I've had some personal issues. My wife's had both her knees replaced, so we've got a 7-year-old lad. So he's sort of, and he's coming on 8, and he's draining a lot of energy, out me to do everything, and he's into everything, and he's wanting an iPhone as well, which is like, oh my god, I'm like, oh my god, like peer pressure, so he's been keeping me well busy. But I am looking at something. One of the games I loved in the arcades was Sidearms. It's I've been looking at maybe doing that one, just looking at how the arcade operates, and I've only just started doing that the last few weeks, to be fair, because my wife's back on her feet now, and she's able to walk around. So I'm kind of, do you know what, mate? As well, I really needed a break. You do a game like that, it just takes so much.
Yeah,
takes a lot of effort, and to get it right. And I really needed the break and probably a holiday as well.
Definitely. Because the thing is, I mean, you're as you say, you've got a full-time job, you've got your wife, you've got your family, and you've got all this, and you need to make time for doing nothing, watching films, going to the pub, going to the cinema, spending time with your family. So all these things do eat into your time. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think sometimes you just need to step back, get a bit of a break. So what, again, I think I did ask you that at the time, how do you pick a fancy porting that game? Is it because you thought, well, I loved the arcade game, and the version for the Amiga was either non-existent, which is a case of Bomb Jack. Or did it come out? Did the Bomb Jack come out for the Amiga? I can't bloody remember.
Yeah, Bomb Jack came out for the Amiga.
Did it come out for the Amiga? I never actually saw it. Yeah, Turbo Sprint definitely never came out for the for the Amiga, and Rygar didn't either. And obviously, Devil's Temple's is a modern game. So, how do you decide what game you think I quite fancy doing that?
It's pretty much what you said, mate. It's I spent a lot of time. My grandparents lived near Seaburn in Sunderland, so I used to be down there all the time, every weekend, just playing the arcade games. And Bomb Jack was a game I used to play all the time. Absolutely loved it. Kung Fu Master, which is a game I loved as well. I can almost visualize them all kind of lined up. Even back where back then when you had like the cigarette trays, and there's sort of like so many that I could think of that I'd love to port that to the Amiga. Hypersports is another class game I used to play.
I will buy you 10 pints if you can port Track and Field to the Amiga and Rolling Thunder, either or. I'll be your mate forever. Honestly, I just wish I had the skills to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty much it. That's all I do. I just I sort of like look, and I've got to have. I think what I do is I've got to have like a kind of an emotional interest to the game. Like I've got to have played it. I've got to have liked it. It's got to kind of like that game was brilliant. I remember that, and that was the same for Rygar as well. I remember, and I've said this a few times now. I remember seeing that game, and I think it was next to something like Hypersports or Track and Field. And at the time, it was just one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. And that was just the attract mode, and it just the parallax scrolling. And I was like, oh, that's just such a beautiful game. And then I remember one day there's a guy came in, a young lad come in, and sort of like I watched him put on the old big 10 pence in, and he completed the game in 3 lives, and I was stood behind him, and I was like, I got to see all of the levels in the game, like all 27, and I was just gobsmacked, and I thought, and then of course, later on in the years, 1995, you get Mayhem coming out, and you can you can play those games as and relive them, I suppose. But I pretty much chose them just as how I remembered the arcades, and
game, And what do you think? Well, see, for something, for example, like Rygar, presumably that's got all the levels built in, has it?
Yeah, it's all the levels, and we stuck some more in there as well. I think there's three additional levels. Yeah, what I try to do is add like a little bit of extra into them games, because if you imagine you add the source code to some of them games, right? Would you just straight port them, or would you add a little bit in? And I didn't have the source code; they were all written from scratch in assembler. But I thought, well, why would you just do a straight port? Just add my little touch to it. So that's what I've always tended to do. In Bomb Jack, there's extra levels you can get. In Rygar, there's extra levels you see. In Turbo Sprint, there's extra pickups and things like that.
Yeah, because I think, I mean, it's always, I always think it's quite an interesting thing, like the enthusiasm and love from like the community for like new ports on old systems of like old games, like for example Rygar and Turbo Sprint and Bombjack. I think we'll just play the arcade version, get the best version, and there is, but there is something, and maybe it's you've got to have actually lived through the whole scene, having an Amiga, having a Commodore 64. There's something magical about putting on your old computer that you remember back in the day, and then loading up a game like Rygar and going, "Fucking hell, this is perfect. There's something," and it's some people would go, "But what's the point?" And they've probably got a point, but you need to understand. You need to be involved and have a love for the hobby to understand what makes it so special. There's something nice about loading up a game and going, "Fucking hell, that's not the arcade. That's actually on an Amiga." Or I mean, you've probably seen the cracking job that these guys did for Commando and Ghosts and Goblins on the Commodore 64. Again, brilliant.
Absolutely. And I mean, for me as well, I mean, there's got to, being a programmer, there's sort of like got to be a technical element to it as well. So you're trying to like prove, I think the Amiga can do this, but can I do it? Have I got like this? Have I got the skill and the know-how? And that's where the community thing comes in. I mean, I couldn't have done it without having to ask a load of people in the community, in the Amiga community, certainly. So there's that sort of like, there's that side of things where you're doing this as a hobby and you're enjoying writing this game, and that's where the fun bit comes in. You sort of like you're challenging yourself to do it.
Can I get this to work perfectly? Yeah,
exactly. That's it.
I don't know if you've seen any of the games with Nick Sherman, Arlasoft. Nick, he watches my channel. He's put out all these incredible conversions on the Commodore 64, and the best of it was he only started programming about 5 years ago, and he's put out like an absolute sublime. What's he done? He's done Galaga on the C64, and of course I kind of jokingly said to him, you want to see this Horus and the Robots? It is the most perfect arcade version of Berserk, bar none." Because people were going on about this Berserk Redux on the C64. No, sorry, Redux is a nice game, but it's nothing like the arcade. It's shit compared to the arcade.
Right.
I says, but that's not possible in the Commodore 64. And then bloody 4 weeks later, he fucking hits me with a beta. And he's only fucking made it. I guarantee I could play this Berserk. And of course, I stupidly said on camera, if you can do as good a job as Horus and the Robots, I will eat my hat.
Yeah.
Well, I've still got my hat. I have actually been onto Google and Amazon to see if I can buy an edible hat. And I've not found anything yet. Well, when are you going to eat your hat? But yeah, he has put. I guarantee you could have the speech. He's even got this bloody speech in it. It's all one load. The speech is a bit scratchy, which you would expect. But I guarantee if you were to put that up and even maybe knock out the sound, whatever, the speech, and say this is arcade Berserk, nobody would actually know any different. Because it's that good, So he's like yourself. He is to the C64 what you are to the Amiga. But phenomenal. And on behalf of the entire community and myself, thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing, Graeme, because it's awesome having guys like yourself that are able to keep these machines alive. Machines that are like 35, 40 years old technically should be on the landfill, and here we are, we're still knocking out amazing stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll keep on doing it, mate, for as long as I can.
Fantastic.
Thanks very much for that. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
No, and like I says, check out down below, guys, and you will get a link to Graeme's site and also the stonkingly brilliant interview that we had a couple of years ago or whenever it was. So anyway, now to that's the aperitif. Now on to the main course. What have I called this video? Nice and Nasty Video Games Podcast. Nice being the world has outlawed every video game. You can't play any video game ever again but they're going to let you pick 3 games that you can play, and then that is it. 3 games. You'll never play any other video games ever again. And also, I want you to give me 3 games which are so incredibly bad, for whatever reason you hate them and they should never have been made. I want you to give me 3 games as well. So can we kick off with in no particular order? Number 1, what game would be one of the 3 games that you could play and why?
I'll tell you what, mate, this has been tough for me. I'll tell you what, because I've played a lot of games, and I've got a long list here, right? And I mean, I'm happy to mention them, but the first game I'd take on first game I'd come up with is a 3D Death Chase on the ZX Spectrum. that game, I mentioned the emotional attachment there. That was one of the first games that I had when I had a Spectrum. I think I had a 16K rubber key Spectrum, and I always look at it like all the games after it, like Outrun, and I consider it like the first 3D racer.
Yeah,
and it's just to have that game was just absolutely brilliant at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I've played it quite a bit on streams and what have you, and it's one of the earliest Spectrum games, and it just uses it's not sprites, but it just uses like little character graphics.
Yeah,
but I think the actual I'm a completely non-technical person, but the speed of which he's got like the trees coming towards you is phenomenal.
Absolutely, yeah. I remember looking at it at the time. This is like some magic in coming on my TV screen.
Yeah.
I had loads of Spectrum games, right? Jetpack, I remember, Tornado Low Level. All of them games are like really good, but the one that always sticks with us is like 3D Death Chase because of the 3D in it at the time. I'm not really a 3D as you'll see for the rest of the games. I'm not really a 3D type of guy. I'm not like I don't really do the first person shooters and all that type of thing. But I just remember that game and being emotionally attached to it, and that's why I would. It's always a game that I keep going back and playing, every now and again, and just go, that just how did they do that? How did I forget who the developer was?
The thing is, I think did he not write Full Throttle as well? I can't even remember his bloody name, and people will be going, it's quite an unusual name. And apparently that guy has like completely vanished off the face of the earth. I don't think even like Retro Gamer have managed to get in touch. I can't even remember his name. It will come to me, but I presume he used. And again, I remember my mate. I didn't have a Spectrum. My mate did, and I remember him playing Full Throttle, and. Yeah, I found it quite amusing. Like the little all your opponents, they were like blinking away, and they were like they were all like single color, and I thought, oh, that's laughable. But it was still the impression of speed and what have you was brilliant.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I mean, I'll tell you what, right? That game was a close second. Sorry, that game pipped Rescue on Fractalus. If you've ever played that on the Atari 800. Right.
Oh, yeah. That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was stuck. Do I put that one first, or and 3D Death Chase just pipped it.
So, do you think has that got some longevity, or would you have that because when anytime you're thinking you're feeling a wee bit low, you thought I want to go back to happier days, I'll just fire that up?
Yeah, that's pretty much that. I get like a bit of a fancy. So I had an Atari 800 as well, and a Spectrum. I had a Spectrum and Atari 800, and I had a C64. But them were sort of the games where I was sort of like, I don't know, they've just stuck in my mind. I remember on Rescue on Fractalus where the little alien jumps up, and I remember like. Seriously, sometimes I would like actually turn away from the screen, in case, or like turn the volume down on the TV so I wouldn't get such a shock.
Well, I've played. I know we're going off topic. I've played Rescue and Fractalus quite a few times in streams, and I've always hoped to get that, and it's never actually appeared. Is that guy? I'm just trying to think. I know I could Google it, but where's the fun in that? Is it not something like Betancourt? Betancourt, the guy that wrote it. Anyway, doesn't matter. Yeah. So that's your number one 3D. What's it called again? 3D
Death Chase.
or it depends where you look. Some people call it Death Chase, but yeah, 3D Death Chase, and that was on the Spectrum. So that was your first one. What would be game number 2?
Game number 2. So as I mentioned, in the arcades, look, I'm a big fan of shooters. So I've already big fan of like Sidearms and games like that. Defender, I played a lot in the arcades as well. And if anybody remembers Nemesis or Gradius as it's called, and going through the Amiga, I loved the shooters on the Amiga like Apeja. Hybris, an amazing game. Battle Squadron, but my absolute game that I would take a number 2 here. Well, take with us Gradius 5 on the PS2, and that is a absolute. That game for me is just perfect. It's the music is unreal. The gameplay is I think that the level of difficulty is sort of like it gets people at first, but if you keep playing it, you get across it. It's just such a good game and polished game.
You know what? You've probably, if somebody was to do this on me, that would probably be one of my games. I just like to be able to play video games. I'm not a collector or anything, but the last 3 or 4 times when I'd been down at like play Blackpool, I thought, because one of my mates, he worked for PlayStation Magazine or something, and he got me a copy of Gradius 5, and I actually, in the last few years, I actually sought out and bought it. I bought Gradius 5 because it is the best, in my opinion, it is the best game in the PlayStation 2. It's phenomenal.
I agree with you, mate. And I could have sort of like said Nemesis, from the arcade. Yeah. But that game, yes, it's sort of like an ascendant, I suppose. It just incorporates all the best things from all the shooters in the Gradius series and Nemesis.
I mean,
and it's just brilliant.
The bit where you've got these like big planets that are like on fire, like Saturn, they're burning, and then you have to keep shooting them. They gradually shrink and then they blow up. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I've almost been convinced that there's a secret mode that only the software companies like the Sonys and the Nintendos themselves will unlock, because like Nintendo, as we all know, the Wii, it was the biggest selling console of all time, I think. Most of the games looked absolutely dog shit, but you look at something like Mario Galaxy, and it's like it's in a different resolution from every other game, and it was the same with Gradius 5. You could, I'm convinced, if people didn't know about Gradius 5, I'm convinced if I was to put a video of me playing Gradius 5 and say this has just come out in the PlayStation 4, people would go, "Wow, that looks amazing." It's a PlayStation 2, and it's staggeringly beautiful.
It's an unbelievable game, and I think I was reading somewhere that it was Konami, and they outsourced it to Treasure. I think that's what they did. The Treasure team actually did that. Treasure, it's like Radiant Silver going. They just do amazing shooters, but that one is sort of like I'd just say it's head and shoulders above every other shooter that I've played.
Yeah, I'm not normally a fan of like games that have been like improved graphics and all that kind of stuff, but that one, it's just a joy to play. It sounds phenomenal. It looks incredible. The depth, the parallax scroll, it's all just so seamless. And if that game was to drop on like the PlayStation 5 for 40 quid, people would probably buy it. It's just and if anyone wants testament to how good the game is, the fact that I went out and bought that about 2 years ago for 30 quid, just so I can sit it on my shelf. I don't know why I wanted to buy it. I just thought that's the best game for the PlayStation 2. I want to own it.
I actually emulate it, right? And the emulation on I forget, it's PSX2.
PCX2,
It's the emulation of it's perfect. But I was in CEX a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, and I'm actually actively looking for a PS2 with Gradius 5, and there wasn't a one in me local CEX, but I would shell out money just to get.
So are you after the original game?
I'm off the original game and the PS2. I'm not bothered about the PS.
Oh, right. Well, you should be able to pick up a PS2 for. Or are they getting harder to find now? I don't know.
I think they had PS2s, just the fact that they didn't have Gradius 5, you know. So I'm probably on the lookout for Gradius 5.
Well, listen, if I'm kicking about any of these shows, and I see it, I'll buy it for you, mate. Yeah, I'll let you know. Because it's not. It's funny sometimes when you get people in Facebook Marketplace selling like 150 PlayStation 2 games, and what I always go through it, I find and if I saw Granny's 5, I would just go and buy it and
I'd give you the money, mate.
I would give you Granny's 5, and the rest of them could go to bloody CEX. But yeah, it's. I think it's. I think it's. I don't know how much it goes for, but I think it is a game that probably does. The best it was. It probably never actually sold that well because who was interested in playing Gradius on the PlayStation 2? People were more interested in playing GTA, whatever it is. You know, that nobody was interested in playing games like that. But. Yeah, absolutely. You've a phenomenal second choice. And the last third game that you would choose.
Third game. So again, probably on the shooter genre, but this one's a classic game from the arcades that I used to play a lot, and it used to basically take all my money, which is Robotron. And but I'm not selecting that one as the actual one I would take, because there was a game came out well, when was it? It's about 6 or 7 years ago, called Next Machina Death Machine, and that's on the PS4. And
is that was Eugene Jarvis that programmed it?
So Eugene Jarvis programmed Robotron.
Yeah.
And he was the creative consultant for Housemarque, who did Next Machina. And this is a game that I just play like pretty much. I'd probably go play it weekly. And the replayability of of the game is just it's still got the heart and soul of Robotron. But it's just brought right up to date with in Next Machina, and it's just got so much replayability. If that's a word, yeah, it probably is. You just pick it up, play it, and then you can just move in the different levels. And such a beautiful game as well. And the music's absolutely outstanding.
I'd forgotten. I bought that on like day one. I mean, it was a digital download because I remember hearing about it. And I've completely forgotten all about that game, and it will be on my PlayStation. In fact, on that PlayStation 3 that's behind me, not PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. Yeah, phenomenal. It's I suppose it's kind of done for Robotron what Gradius 5 did for Gradius, but it's obviously it's not. It is kind of one screen, but it scrolls and you go through gates and what have you. But it's got the same essence and spirit of Robotron. You're moving about, you're just shooting stuff, but it's beautiful.
And that's the thing. It's the core game mechanic is there, still in the game. It's still got the heart and soul of it, but they've improved it just tenfold with like the power ups and the collectibles and the difficulty range, and it's just such a beautiful game. And that's what I play all the time. I do. Don't get me wrong. I still play Robotron as well.
Yeah.
But I've Next Machina is probably my go-to game for that one.
Aye, no, that's a. Thanks for reminding me of it. I might go and have a game of that today. Actually, I think Sunday afternoon. What's better than playing some video games? So, no, listen, three phenomenal choices, and I'm with you every step of the way in that. So, but it's not all jellies and ice cream, unfortunately, mate. However, you've got the chance to rectify it. If there were 3 games that are so utterly bad, they might not even be bad technically. Everybody might like them, but games that you despise with a passion, you hate them, and they should never have been written, and you could just confine to the pits of hell. What would they be and why?
So I've got a bit of a mix here. Now, I should first say I am a football fan, so I'm a Sunderland season ticket holder, but I'm by no means a fan of like FIFA. and FIFA in pretty much all of the games to do with FIFA, I would just abolish. I just say it. I'd go further. The whole series is just a bloody cash grab as far as I can say. But I did, over FIFA, I would take a game of Tekken World Cup or Sensible Soccer or Kick-Off 2 any day of the week, right? Because those are brilliant games. But I've got mates who play like FIFA online and stuff like that, and I might think, why on earth are you playing this shit? It's crap. and they're paying like probably a fortune to do it as well. That's the annoying thing.
Yeah, what is it in particular that you dislike? I mean, obviously the original FIFA. In fact, the original FIFA came out in was it 3DO? I think it was the 3DO, and then it came out in the Mega Drive. That's when it became big, and then the SNES, and then it just. I mean, I think there's been a FIFA since. I think was it FIFA. Then was it FIFA 95? I think. Something like that.
Yeah, I think which way I view it is, mate, is that I just see it sort of like every year they just release the game, and it's probably it will be just the same game released, and like people go out and buy it just because it's got like the new players in or stuff like that. And to be fair, I don't play it. I've probably played it once or twice, possibly even purchased it, and thought, oh god, this is crap, and. But I think that's just the oldie in me, just preferring the old Tekken World Cup, and I just kind of get away with all like I think what it is, it's just that they've sort of like tried to make it in a sort of like it's like a TV thing as well as like the game.
Yeah. All the sort of the highlights and it's like, come on, I just want to play a game. It's a bit like the Forza Horizon games. You've got to. It takes you half an hour to actually get into a game. You're just click. Yeah, totally with you.
So that's I wouldn't. I'd just abolish all of them.
The entire FIFA franchise.
I would get rid of it.
Thing is, I mean, I'm not a football fan at all. I mean, I'll watch the World Cup, but I mean, I didn't even watch the Champions League because I was at the Proclaimers, obviously. But I'm not a football fan. But I mean, let me think, the first football game I played, I absolutely adored international soccer on the Commodore 64. And then obviously, what you call it, sensible soccer came along. And I played Kick-Off on the Amiga, and then sensible soccer came along. And that was it. That was just like, I mean, that was my guest last week, John Latimer, that was one of his best games. World of Sensible Soccer. He says infinite. Quite literally, there's like 50,000 teams, and a game where you can play, I don't know, the games master staff against chicken Chinese takeaway. Chicken chow means on the wing, and the fried rice is the goalkeeper. What's not to love about it? But yeah, and then I'm trying to think. FIFA came along, man. I didn't have a Mega Drive, and I remember thinking, "Oh, that looks incredible. That looks brilliant." And then I eventually got a SNES, and I think I got FIFA for it. But then I saw a review of International Superstar Soccer, and they were going on about how brilliant. And this had like Roberto Baggio when he had his ponytail, and they had like some standout players. I think they had, I can't remember any other players, but what FIFA just felt too serious, and especially now they're like, it's just, I don't know. Yeah, it's probably an age thing, but if you want to play a great classic sprite-based football game, load up like the Neo Geo 98 on the Neo Geo, or else load up International Superstar Soccer on the SNES. But you need to make sure you play the Japanese version, because it has got absolutely batshit mental commentary. You've got no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's like, go, 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 go! La, 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 la. It's just fucking mental. You don't know what they're talking about, but it's brilliant. And FIFA now, I've played, I've got Game Pass for the Xbox. And I think you can play FIFA, and I'm like, it's so sterile, and
Yeah.
You know, I know people love it. If the last decent football game, in my opinion, would be Pro Evolution Soccer, I think, in the PlayStation 2. That was good. It was quite easy to play. You could tackle, you could, do headers, you could do long punts, you can pass, whatever. None of this, all this shit that goes on with FIFA now. But that was like the last decent game, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, you've just reminded us the Neo Geo. I'm racking my brains what the soccer games were on the Neo Geo.
There was Super Sidekicks.
Super Sidekicks, that's the one.
Yeah, I think they went. I actually played that at Arcade Club a couple of years ago. Me and one of the guys that were a group of the guys off the sort of my channel went down to Arcade Club a couple of years ago, and we played. Or it was last year, was it? I can't remember. We played Super Sidekicks, and there's something brilliant about playing.
It is,
playing
Super
that. And yeah, in fact, my mate was up a couple of weeks ago, and we're playing the Mister. We played the Neo Geo 98. It's called, and it's brilliant. It's simple to play. There's only 2 or 3 buttons, but it's fun to play. But yeah,
Super Sidekicks 3. I remember that one as a favorite. Yeah, me and my mate used to play that all the time.
Super Sidekicks,
brilliant.
It's got some kind of zooms in as well. That was kind of a bit of a party trick. With the Neo Geo, but yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't shed any tears we've seen the entire FIFA franchise put into the bucket.
Totally.
So yeah, you're with me on that one, mate. Brilliant. And number 2.
Number 2. Oh, have you ever heard of Yolanda?
I was wondering when that was going to get picked.
I mean, that game can sort of like seriously affect your mental health, it's so bad.
Was it not? I'm sure. Yeah, to the uninitiated, Yolanda was a platform game released. I think it came out on Atari ST and the Commodore Amiga, and you play the part of, I don't know, some sort of like Greek god or something, and it's a platform game, but it's got the most unfair game mechanics you could ever hope. It's almost like random, isn't it? It's just ridiculous. Like, you start off in a platform and there's like a rope to the right, and you think, I'll run along the platform. Then 2 seconds later, the entire platform goes on fire and you die.
It could bring out the worst in people, that game, and you definitely end up with a nervous disposition if you played it for too long. It's just the worst thing ever.
Oh, I'm sure it came out and I'm sure some of the listeners will be able to tell me what it was. I'm sure it did come out in the Commodore 64, but it was it wasn't Thor. I can't remember what it was called. I'm sure it came out in a different guise, but it was the same game. But yeah, it's just somebody obviously hated. Somebody obviously thought, I'm going to write the most unplayable game ever. It's just ridiculously unfair.
I think it could possibly just like be a piss take of a game. That's what it feels like. Strange.
And everything about the game is diabolically bad. The graphics are awful, but it's the fact that you run and then you maybe get onto a rope and then you jump onto a wee thing, and if you pause for like more than half a second, the thing goes on fire and you die. And it's like, oh man, I mean, there's a game that I used to put in that category, China Miner, which anyone that's familiar with my channel will know well about. This game makes China Miner look like the most playable arcade game in the entire world. Some people might actually pick that game as a game to take with them because they know that it'll always be a challenge. Yeah. But there's challenging and there's downright unfair, and I think that one falls firmly into the sort of latter category.
Yeah, I struggle to even call it a game, to be fair. But do you know what, mate? I don't even like watching YouTube videos of it. I can't handle it.
Oh man, have you managed to get off a level on that one at all, or have you just not played it?
No, I think I played it once, and I don't know. I was lucky I didn't buy it. You know, I got it via other means. But yeah, even then, it sort of like sent me into a bit of a fit.
I think yeah. I've never been one to throw a joystick out the window or whatever, but I think that would have probably took me close to the precipice, as they say. If the programmer of said game happens to be listening to this podcast and you want to come on and explain yourself, then just hit me up in the comments and we'll get together, and perhaps you can bring you back in as well, Graeme. I'll be the mediator and
totally, mate. Totally.
See how it goes. Excellent. Yeah, that's. I do get the feeling that one will crop up at some point, but yeah, no arguments on that one. And your final game that should be banished forever.
Final one, banished forever. It's got to be Rolling Thunder on the Amiga, mate. I'm sorry, got to be. It's yeah, 2 Amiga games in there, but Rolling Thunder's just because I'll tell you why. I've actually looked at we actually got the source code for the game.
Yeah, and, I remember. Yeah,
we got the source code for the game, and you can sort of tell it's been taken from the ZX Spectrum version, which is considered really good. It's been taken from the ZX Spectrum version, and kind of just. It's almost like the lines of code have been like rewritten just for like 68,000 Amiga and Atari ST, with no thought of kind of how the Amigas and the 16-bits are a bit different. It's just I've always thought, it's been a port from the Atari ST. This hasn't. This has been like a straight port from the.
Really? That's
yeah, and it shows because the ZX Spectrum's got some advantages of it, and the C64 over the Amiga and the Atari ST. They, them typically have like character displays, where the Amiga, it's all bitmap displays. So sometimes it can take you a lot of time to do stuff, and it shows in that game because it's bloody awful. It really is.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, Rolling Thunder was one of. It wasn't one of my favourite arcade games. It was a game that I used to go to college in a place called Bathgate, which isn't far from me. And at lunchtime, I used to go there once a week and day release. And me and my mate Kenny, we used to go along to the arcade. We'd go and get a bag of chips, and we'd go to the arcade. We had like an hour's lunch break, and he would play Rolling Thunder. And I just used to kind of watch it. I used to watch him playing it because I was, because I never had any arcades really nearby, I never played arcade games. So invariably, I had more fun just watching him playing it. And then I kind of got drawn into the game. And then when I remember reading, a sort of preview of it was coming out, it was getting released. I thought, and at that point, I had just bought an Atari ST. I thought, they're going to do a cracking version. And I remember loading it up, and my heart just sank. It's really, it was like dog shit slow, and the bit that was just completely there's no excuse was the only bit of the music to me is one of the biggest things. That was one of my arcade game soundtracks that I picked in that recent video I put out. The or that all they had in it was and you're waiting for the actual melody to start, and it doesn't start. It's like I've forgotten to put it in. So I was gutted when it. I was gutted when it came out for Atari ST, and then when I got an Amiga, my go-to pirate person gave me a copy of it in Amiga, and I remember rushing home to play it. And again, my heart just sunk because it was virtually identical.
Yeah, it's one of them games where I sort of see it should never have been made for the Amiga or the Atari ST. And I pumped a lot of coins into Rolling Thunder, when it was in the arcade. Absolutely brilliant game.
How far did you get it? Just out of curiosity, did you complete it?
I could get to the level where there's like some panthers turn up. I think.
You've got the sort of the zombies that go, and they kind of jump at you, and then you get the black panthers that leap from the top of the kind of crates. That's as far as I could get. I think that's level 3. I think that was as far as I got.
Yeah, it's either level 3 or level 4. I remember, but that's as far as I could get. Back in the day. Which I think that's probably quite a common thing for game players. But it should never have ever have been made. And like I say, it came from the ZX Spectrum. So whoever was doing it was a Tatex job, wasn't it? So
that's right. Yeah, they never put out any really decent versions. Was there a decent version on the on any of the home computers of that game?
I can't remember exactly, but I think that the ZX Spectrum version is from what I can remember, is considered to be like the best version. The C64, I think, had a fairly decent version, but the the 16 bits, it was truly awful.
Aye, if I remember rightly, I'm sure in the 8-bit versions, like you've got the sort of the perpetrators who walk about the platforms up at the top. There's like a railing. If I remember rightly, did they not have the railings in some of the home versions? Even the graphics were kind of poor.
Yeah, it's quite possible. The 16-bit versions had the railings, and do you know what as well? That's getting in the technicalities. That's one of the reasons the game is on the 16 bits is so slow, because they kind of redraw the background and they redraw the sprites and then they redraw the railing in that sort of order, and it just completely slows down the game. And the ZX Spectrum, with which way it is, or the C64, is able to do that in a much more efficient way. So it's one of them things. They never really thought about it.
So, I remember asking you at the time, saying, "Can you do a decent version of Rolling Thunder?" And I think you said, "Well, it would be quite a difficult game to program," which I was quite surprised to hear.
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one, right? So I actually attempted to do it on the 1200, just because it's got more memory. But it's strange which way the arcade game works. It's almost like an 8-bit arcade game, and you've got all the tiles and the backgrounds are all made up of 8-bit tiles as well. So the 8 pixels by 8 pixels.
Mm-hmm.
And it does come down to that the hardware that's who did it. Was it Tato who did the game? Tato.
Yeah. Oh, bloody hell! Wait a minute, Rolling Thunder.
Namco, I should know that.
Of course, it was Namco. Yeah, it was Namco.
Yeah. And it's because the graphical hardware in the arcade has about 3 or 4 different tile layers that can just seamlessly be moved around, and the home computers just don't have that, and that's really the reason why. So a lot of compromises have got to be made for a game that's it just kind of looks like there's no scroll in the arcade game. I don't think there's any parallax scrolling or anything like that.
No.
But you've still got to make like them compromises at how it works. Like it's like when the enemies, for example, in level 2, the enemies are behind the fence. There's like a fence.
Mm-hmm.
There's loads of enemies that goes behind the fence, and then they come in front of the fence.
Yeah.
And your main guy can go behind the fence and on the railings and above and jump over the railings and stuff like that. And that makes it all the more hard when you haven't got a computer that's got this concept of like that many tile layers. And that's really the reason. I can't remember if it came out on the Mega Drive or the SNES.
No, it didn't. It came out. I think it came out in the NES. I'm sure it did. What do you call it? Rolling Thunder 2 came out in the Mega Drive. Have you ever really got into Rolling Thunder 2?
No, I've seen it. That's one with the girl, isn't it? There's a girl.
Yeah, and it plays pretty well, but it's like a sequel or Jaws 1 or Jaws 2. You're going to go for the original, and it's the same as that. Rolling Thunder 2 might actually be the better game, but I'll always, and to me it's because he's got the little bloody, what do you call it, that top on. He's just like, he's pure kind of James Bond, and that soundtrack, absolutely, you take that soundtrack out of the game and I probably wouldn't want to play it, but you put that soundtrack in the game and it's
phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah. It's absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, Agent Albatross, that's what the little polo neck, he's got the wee pink polo neck. And he's like a big skinny guy. Absolutely awesome game. But yeah, the home ports were awful. It's funny that because I've been a complete non-tech person. You know, it's interesting you're saying, "Oh, that can't be done because of that." I think, well, it's simple. It's just a scrolling landscape. I mean, what was the game? Oh, bloody hell! It was the sequel to Shinobi. I think Shinobi came out in the Amiga, and I think that was pretty good. And then there was Shadow Dancer.
Yeah.
See, Shadow Dancer is kind of Rolling Thunder, and yeah, I'm sure Shadow Dancer came out in the Amiga, and it was really, really good. So what's the difference? Because that's kind of the same sort of game mechanics.
Well, what I would say is Shinobi's equally as horrible as Rolling Thunder. To be fair, it wasn't a good port on the Amiga.
Yeah.
It was absolutely truly awful. But you know, I think with Shadow Dancer, what they've done is they've had the Amiga in mind. They've understood its capabilities and its hardware, and that's likely why they've been able to do that. We all know that a lot of them games back then were sort of like ports from the Atari ST or even before.
Yeah.
So a lot of them were just kind of like, shovelware, right? Do the ST and then two for the price of one, just throw the Amiga in there. So that's which way they looked at it. But if you got the companies that really started targeting the Amiga hardware, all you got to do is look at Shadow of the Beast. That was like a huge game changer, for the Amiga, because it actually used the real hardware. And we looked at this a while. Actually, I looked at this a while ago, and the first game that I could find, really mainstream game that I could find that took real use of the Amiga's hardware was R-Type. That was done by Factor 5. Yeah, it made proper use of the Amiga's hardware.
Yeah, that's a cracking version.
Yeah, and it shows, doesn't it? If you compare it to the Atari ST version, it's nowhere near as good.
I think the ST one's quite jerky. I think, if I remember rightly. Yeah.
So they made the Factor 5 knew what they were doing. They made the Amiga Inside Out, and that's why it's a much better conversion. And that's likely what I can't remember. I can't remember Shadow Dancer ringing a bell with us when it was released. But I'm more than happy to look at it, mate, and say, oh, yeah, that's why it's a better conversion.
I'm sure it is. I just double. I may be talking complete nonsense, but I am 99. In fact, I'm just going to, as we're blethering this, let me just have a quick wee look. I just want to double. I'm sure Shadow Dancer did come out. I've got that many bloody icons along the bottom. There we go. That's it. I'd have been quicker just going into YouTube, wouldn't I? Than doing that. But yeah. So would that be a game you would ever think about having a crack at, Rolling Thunder?
I did again. I did start it to the year 1200. And then it got really complicated, all them tile layers, mate. But I might do it in the future. I don't know. But you've got to look at it, right? It's a lot of work to do, like to do the game when somebody can kind of just fire it up in MAME, and like the real deal, and just kind of for me to prove that the Amiga was better for it. It's a lot. It's a hell of a lot of work to do it, So
no, I know. If it was your full-time job, then it would be different. But I'm sure if anyone can pull off an absolute stonking Rolling Thunder conversion, it's you, Graeme. Yeah, I'm just looking at it there. It was Shadow Dancer. It was released by US Gold in 1991. And if I remember rightly, it was one of my kind of go-to games. It's actually really good. I just want to have a quick swatch at the Rolling Thunder. Yeah, you should have a wee look at Shadow Dancer, see what you think.
I'll have a quick look.
Let's have a look. Rolling Thunder. That's interesting. This image that I have that I use Amiga emulator wise, it doesn't have Rolling Thunder in it. It did come out in Amiga. That's strange. Just before we finish off, Graeme, you released something. You kind of played about with the code for Rolling Thunder on Amiga, didn't you? What was it you did? Did you speed it up or something? Yeah.
Yeah. So what we did is so there was a guy, and this is a legendary story actually. When they were doing the actual game for Rolling Thunder, they accidentally left the source code of the game on the original disc, which went out to everybody. But they deleted the files, but they hadn't actually deleted the blocks from the disc, So it turned out that if you run the Rolling Thunder original disc through like a disc salvage tool on the Amiga, you'll find you'll get a lot of the source code back for the game. So there was a guy, what do they call him? I can't remember his name, who'd been working on filling in the gaps of the source code, and he had it like pretty much all the way there. And I can't remember exactly how it came out. I think I was doing like the similar sort of thing, looking at it. And he says, "Oh, I've got the source code. It just needs a few tweaks here and there if you're willing to like work on it." And I says, "Yeah, give us a look." And I replaced all of effectively the ZX Spectrum CPU drawn routines with the Amiga Blitter routine, and the game like sped up by about, it was like went to 50 frames a second, it was just using the hardware much more efficiently. And I didn't even do much with the scrolling, I could have used the Amiga hardware scrolling capabilities, but it just sped up the game that much faster. And then I thought, well, we might as well release it, just saying to see what could have been if they'd used hardware.
So if that had been, if the new version that you'd tweaked, if that had been the one that came out, would it still be in your 3 games list, do you think?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Definitely. Oh well, so it's
still
a pile of shite.
There's so many things wrong with it. The fact that I think the only player area is like 128 pixels high.
Oh, that's right. Aye.
And the arcade is something like 224. So there's huge problems, with even the game. Then the collision detection is awful as well, and it's just a very, very poorly programmed game. For what we got for your 25 quid.
Oh man, I know you would have wanted to take it back and get your money back, but unfortunately that wasn't really an option back in the day, was it?
Yeah, well, that was it. I mean, we were talking about this on the chat on the stream the other day, weren't we, about how much, was it £90 is worth like now? It was the Street Fighter, wasn't it? That's right.
Aye.
And it was like £40 like back in the days, like £90 now.
Yeah. Because I was talking about how I think it was the latest Street Fighter 6 or something is like 90 quid or something, which actually pound for pound is pretty much what we spent back then, but I know. But anyway, listen, Graeme, thank you so much for 6 great choices. Absolutely no arguments from me in any of these. So yeah, listen, mate, as always, it's fantastic to catch up with you, mate. I look forward to your next project. If you need some ham-fisted beta tester, I know somebody who lives. Oh, it's myself. Give me a shout, mate. And are you going down to NERG this year?
I'm trying to get to NERG. I've actually got to work. I'm out for a drink on the afternoon. So if I do make it, I'll probably be there early, like 10 o'clock, maybe.
Right, okay.
Maybe I'll do like 10 o'clock till like 12 or 1. And then I'm out on the drink in Newcastle.
Good stuff. I've got my ticket anyway, so I'll be down there. So hopefully, listen, we'll catch up down there, mate. And if not, we'll if you're going there, I'm definitely going anyway. We'll catch up at NERG, which I think's in August, if I remember rightly.
It's July 1st.
July? Is it? Is it July? Is it really? I'll need to double check. I'm maybe getting my Zap Live and my NERG muddled up. I know one of them's 1 month and one of them's the other month.
It's anyway, sorry, mate. It's July 15th. I think that's when it is.
Is it? Right. Spot on. Okay. Anyway, listen, Graeme. Thank you very much for joining me, mate. And finally, thank you very much to everybody that's taking time to listen. And like I said, go and check out Graeme's website down below. You can buy these games, and trust me, they're absolutely worth playing. And also, I'll pop the link to the chat that Graeme and I had last year. So until next time, guys, as always, thank you very much for listening.